Hello everyone, Shane here. I want to do a quick video for you on the design process journal or design process document. This is effectively your working diary or your process diary that you create and submit for at least two of the units for typography. Sorry, two of the projects for Typography Unit. So I'm going to step you through how to do that. I'm going to show you where to find the file. I'm going to show you a little bit about how to use it, especially paragraph styles, which we want you to follow. Also going to show you a little bit of how to plan for it and how to sketch a bit of a layout, and then how to make a start with bringing in your images. All right, let's get stuck into it. All you need to do is go to the assignment section, which is here. Now, I'm currently in assignment 2, I think. The unit for the Canvas shell for assignment 2. So let's start there. Now, under these 4 tabs, there's a whole lot of stuff. There's the assignment criteria, which is really good to know how we mark you and what weighting we put on each section. Submission details, which are really good to check in case you make mistakes or forget what was supposed to be submitted. And importantly, this section here, assignment details, gives you access to any files you need. So here we've got access to the design process document brief, which is where the files are, and down here we've got access to the template that you'll use to put your final outcome in. So in the first 2 units, sorry, I keep saying units, the first 2 tasks, you have 2 submissions. The final presentation or the final outcome goes in one template, and your design process journal goes in another document, another template. You export both from InDesign as PDFs and you upload those to Canvas. So that's the same for Word and Meaning and Quote Me. So in Quote Me here, this is the template, the horizontal template, for example. There's also a vertical template if you're doing a vertical outcome. I'll grab the vertical template and I'm going to save that to my desktop. And I'm going to click on here, the Design Process Document Brief, and that's going to open up this tab. And here I have an InDesign template for the design process journal. So I'll save that to my desktop. Now, when I open that, if I don't have those fonts, or if the fonts don't open, no, that's not how it makes sense. That doesn't make sense. If when I open the file, I see some words, but they've got a pink color over them. It means that I don't have that font loaded on my computer. So if I didn't, I would come back here and I would install that font by clicking on here, saving it, opening it, and then clicking on Install Font. And on a Mac, that will bring up this font book app, and you'll simply install it. Now, if I install it, I'm going to get a conflict because I've already got it loaded, so I won't install it, but that's how you do it. So InDesign, an InDesign file on its own doesn't automatically bring a typeface with it. So if the typeface has been used and you haven't got it, you have to go and get it. The only way to bring it with you is to package the file. When you package an InDesign file, it grabs all the images and all the fonts and it sends it in a folder with the file. But these haven't been packaged, so we've got the fonts separate. If you open the InDesign file and it can't open, it means you've got an older version of InDesign at home or on your computer. So then you would come back here and you'd open this one. If your Adobe Suite cannot open the above version of file, please use this IDML file. And this is like a key to an older version of InDesign. So if you haven't got a subscription, you might need this. Let's go to my desktop, double click on the file, and there's the design process document opened just fine. If I wish to, I could also quickly show you the vertical template. So this is for the final outcome. Double click. There is a low resolution placeholder image here which you replace. So in this case you would just select it. This is for the Word and Meaning project. These 2 items are grouped together, so I'm going to ungroup those. Delete the text frame. Click on the image frame and go to File, Place. And I'm going to place an image in there, say that one. And I can go up here now to these frame fitting options and I can click on Fit Content Proportionally. That brings it to approximately the right size. it fills the height in this case. And I'm going to click on the content grabber in the middle, grab the anchor, hold down Shift and also hold down Option, and that'll enlarge it around the center point and keep it in proportion. Click Release. Now if I was working on this in real life, I'd save it and then I'd come down here and I'd add my rationale, a couple of paragraphs on a statement about the design concept and theme, and I'd put my name here, save it, and then I would export it. Command E to export, and I'll place this onto my desktop and I'll do a high quality print preset. And that will open automatically and we can have a quick look, and it looks fantastic. Inside InDesign, the first thing you'll see is probably the front page. If you can't see the front page, go up here to the right hand section and click on Pages. You should see that. You might have to open this up. This is a mini version of your artboard or your file. If you go back to the artboard and zoom out using the Command minus key, I'm sorry about that, I thought I had the scroll to zoom going. There's my pages, as you can see. There's quite a few pages, 1, 2, 3, 4, just as they appear up here on the right pages thumbnail panel. So I can move around my file by double clicking on the thumbnails, and that moves my pages, or I can hold down spacebar and I can click and drag to move around, and then I can zoom in and out, and Command 0 takes me to full screen, or I can use Command plus, Command minus, or Control plus and minus on a PC. So that's how you move around. The next thing I want to show you is the paragraph style preset and the typography tools. So firstly, it depends on what perhaps depends on who saved the file, but if you can't see your characters over here, your panels over here for character and paragraph styles, go up here to the work space and click on it. You might see Essentials first, or Book, or Advanced, or depending on what was used last, and just click on Typography. And then also, to be sure, you can reset typography and you'll get all the typography based tool panels presented to you over here. Now we're going to be using paragraph styles, and you'll also be using probably character and paragraph. But it's worth noting that paragraph styles will pop up here, but paragraph and character tool panels will also show up on the top. For example, if I go back to my artboard, click inside a text frame. As soon as I click on text, I'm presented with these same panels, character and paragraph, right across the top. On a large screen, you'll have your character controls here, and the paragraph controls will be shunted to the left if you click on this icon. But on a large screen, you'll see both right across the top. So here's the character tools, and over here are the paragraph tools. And over here we've got a few more controls, hyphenation, columns, space between columns, etc. So if you're on a laptop though, you might have to toggle between paragraph and character. So we're going to be showing you how to use paragraph styles in a minute. Firstly though, let's go back to Pages, double click on the cover, and here we are. Now another important tool we have here is the preview tool. So hitting W will toggle between invisibles on and invisibles off. So these are your image frames. If you've got a vertical final solution, you'll put it in the vertical frame and you'll delete the horizontal, just like this. Whoops, the content has been spun for some reason. So click on the content grabber in the middle, come up here and go back to 0. Now I've got the right orientation, and now I'm going to click here to fit content proportionally, and I'm going to enlarge it now to fit the sides as well. Now once you have read the instructions, you can delete them, and down here you would put your name, your student number, and your ELA's name, and then that's the front cover done of your process journal. Next, inside. So double click in the Pages panel, we move to the inside, hit W and you'll get the preview of the grid. Hold down spacebar and you can drag it around as you wish, and you can zoom in and out with Command minus and plus. So what do we do now? Good question, I'm glad you asked. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at some examples of some other design process documents for this project or similar projects. So these are all from examples from students from a couple of years ago or this year, this semester in fact. So if we go back here, and this is on the right, the front page of Romenda McGregor's project for Quote Me, and on the left is page 4. In fact, if I present this here, you'll see. No, you won't. No, you won't. Okay. They haven't, I can't show you the division, but can you imagine that that's a double page spread and that it's 2 vertical A4 pages, and will be, imagine that there's a kind of a fold in the center if this was printed out. So here's their internal double page spread, and then page 4 is this left-hand spread here. So what this student's done is used pretty much the paragraph style presets for body copy, section header. They've changed the color of the section header to black, and they've changed these colors here to black, but everything else appears to be following the paragraph presets. Here's the caption preset, section header preset, body text preset, and here is a character style preset called bold. So that's one really good example. What this student's done, which is nice, is some very large margins. This is sometimes called a hanging line, which is where you hang most of the content from a position that's not exactly the margin. And that's a good thing to do if you want to just introduce some white space or to give it a really chunky margin. This one here is again pretty much following the presets, the paragraph style presets here for body text, paragraph style presets here for caption, 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 and on the back, page 4, they've done something here, a quote. So they've styled this themselves, which is totally fine to do that. But we want you to base most of your content on the grid we provide and the paragraph styles we provide. So here, Robin's, this is her front cover and her back cover. You can see she's used the section headers again. She changed the color. Body text is as the paragraph style indicates. Inside, she's got the captions using the caption style, paragraph style, section header, body text. So pretty much Robin has followed the paragraph styles and the grid. These last couple of students, they've actually gone a little bit beyond. They've changed some of the colors a little bit. Here you can see on the front of Michelle, she's changed this color to a blue. It's a lovely color, and she's ran that theme throughout. So she's done a little bit of sort of additional coloring, and she's changed some of the type paragraph styles to her own liking. And it's fine to do a little bit of that if you're confident. No problem if you're confident, but we want those of you who are new to this to pretty much follow the presets as we have them. Now, what else we see here in Michelle's is quite a busy but well organized set of images and text. She's organized it really well. It's actually quite inviting to look at in spite of how busy it is, or how full it is, maybe is the better word. And here's her back cover, which is quite easy to get into. You can see just the 3 images. She's done what I call sometimes a hero image, which is, we have kind of a main image and then 2 smaller images. And that change of scale is a good thing to do. It brings our attention into the composition a little bit more easily because we know where to look first. So a really nice job there with a busy amount of work, or a significant amount of work. Here, another student has followed that similarly, where she's changed some of the colors, but she's stuck pretty much to the styling for body text and captions, but she's introduced a quote style here, and she's introduced a larger heading or subheading here, and she's colored that heading. She's added a few other colored details like the frames and the dots. But it's a really nicely organized spread. And here she's got, again, the paragraph presets with her invention here of this heading or subheading. The paragraph preset for captions down here. And the final example I want to show you is another recent one where Lily has followed the section headers, the caption style, but she's changed the typeface, and she's also changed the typeface for her body text. So she's done a little bit of tweaking, which works out pretty fine as well. Okay, so that's it. You want to start by inspiring yourself and getting a sense of A, what to put in, B, how to put it in there. So what I'd like you to consider from this is that the better ones, the stronger ones, have pretty clear divisions or sections, and the students are using subheadings to describe those. Refinement of final image. Here we've got brainstorming and research, concept development. Okay, if we look at this one doesn't have a sort of an introduction, if you like, as to what we're looking at. And I think that's a little bit lacking there. It would have been nice to have perhaps a general summary of what this was that we were looking at. This one here, this spread here is relying on the section headers, which is working pretty well. However, in this case, there's a little bit of competition from these bold words. So maybe what was needed here is to go back to the color. So the color, that blue color, would have distinguished the section headers from what is effectively body text. Here, the section header is working fine because there's nothing competing with it up close to it. And this one again is a good example where the student, whose name escapes me, Kristen, has used some nice subheadings to kind of explain what we're looking at or guide our attention. What you want to do first, in my opinion, is sit down with a pen and a piece of paper, and just do a little bit of sketching. So in this image here, I've got a very quick sketch of roughly the shape of the pages, and I've just written, cover, blank contents, mood boards, positioning maps. Now these were sketches for another document, so it doesn't match exactly what you guys are doing, but you just put down here what you would have. So on page 2 you might put research and mind maps. On page 3 you might put inspiration and concepts. And page 4 you might put construction process. So you're just roughly planning what goes where. And as you do that, you can also use an international convention for sketching and designing, which is for communication design anyway, where you have a square or a rectangle and a cross through it. That means image. And a squiggly line or a roughly drawn set of words is text, headings and body copy or captions. And that way you can start to plan your work. Then you could go to a slightly more detailed version of that. Now I'm using or used graph paper here, or paper with a grid on it. You don't need that. You could just do it on a blank sheet of paper. You could do it on the back of an envelope, really. I find graph paper helps because it gets me a little bit more precise when I'm starting to focus in on something. And after you've done that, what I've done here is basically sketched a sense of the margins and the grids. So we've already built the grids into your design, into the Indesign Template. We want you to follow those, but you might want to start by sketching those out so you can then start to plan where you put things. So for example, here I'm going to put a heading up here. It'll be the chapter heading. This will be a subheading. I'm going to have some body text here, a little image here, and a little caption. 3 images or 4 images here, caption, 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 a little bit more body text. Down here, 1 big image, 3 small images, bit of text, something else, bit of a caption, heading, another caption here, another big image, another image, body text, caption, caption, caption. So you do that for the 4 pages, or in this case the 3 pages, because you've already got the front page covered. Pun. And that's it. You got your sketch done, you've thought about it, and really what you're doing is you're just kind of thinking back to what is it that I've done in my process, or what will I need to do? Will I have images? How many photos will I have of the construction process? You know, look through the photos you've got, find a good one, start to think it through. You know, what do I need to show to demonstrate my process? Should I put in my mind maps, or how many sketches will I show? So you start to think this through in a kind of a strategic way, but you've got to be a bit of an editor. You don't want to put everything in because it'll be too busy, and you do have to write something, so you have to think about what you're going to say. But you could argue that this is predominantly a visual presentation with a reasonable number of words to help describe each step, or the overall steps you took. So now we go back to InDesign. We've got our little sketch beside us on the table. We've had a good think about our content. We've got our images perhaps opened in preview or on our desktop. We've maybe already taken some notes. We've got a bit of an idea of how many words we need, what we're going to say, the section headers, the titles, etc. So we go back to InDesign and we start to build the content. So let's pretend that I wanted to have a header across the top. I'm just going to grab a text frame. So to grab a text frame, you go to Type Tool, click on Type Tool, or the shortcut is T, and I'm just going to click and drag out a heading here. And I'm just going to call this Inspiration. Oops. Now the default, as you can see here inside this template, is what we call the section header. So now that I've got that there, if I double click on it and come over here to paragraph styles, just open that up, I'll bring it over here actually, you can see that it's telling me this is the section title. So that little fella there, as soon as I started typing, defaulted to the section title. So let's just keep typing. Well, I'm not going to type because it'll take me too long. I'm going to go up here. InDesign has a placeholder text option. So I'm going to go up to type, fill with placeholder text. And in fact, I'm going to make that larger and do that again. Fill with placeholder text. Look at that. I've got a whole lot of paragraphs now. And they're all in blue and they're all 6-point Franklin Gothic demi-bold on 8.5 leading. By the way, that's up here. 6-point is the point size, 8.5 is the space between the baselines or your leading. And this is the typeface and the style. And just to clarify that, if you go over to the character palette, you have the same information. Franklin Gothic Standard, Demi, 6-point on 8.5. If we go up here to the paragraph one, it'll tell us it's left aligned. And it also has a 2.75mm space after the paragraph. So that is that space there. That little visual space is a space after the paragraph. But look, there's a blue line. What is that? Okay, well, let's go into the settings for this paragraph style. So if I double click inside section title, it opens up the options. And here it is. If I go down here to paragraph rules, you'll see that there's a 0.5 point text color blue, cyan, solid rule, and it's sitting 3mm offset from the top, right, rule above of each paragraph. So these rules are distinguishing the paragraphs. So that's how you access the details of your paragraph style. But remember to be careful what you apply those styles to, because this is a section title or section header. So it's not designed stylistically to be used for body text. Body text should be very easy to read or relatively easy to read, and probably should be in black. It should not be in capital letters because capitals are harder to read. and it could be in a color perhaps, but it shouldn't be 6 point. It's far too small. You probably want a body copy text size of about 10 points or 11 points to be reasonably readable, depending on the typeface. So what we actually have here is not section title, but body copy. So to change it, you select it and hit body text. Bam! Now we have body text and a section header. So if I come out of there, hit escape, and then hit W, you can see that I've now got a whacking, honking great chunk of body text. And notice here, if we have a look, we've got what's called an indent. This is a paragraph indent. And in this case, in the body text preset style or the paragraph style, again, if you select it or put the cursor inside it, you'll be told what it is. It's the body text one. And this has an indent, and the indent is a convention, typographic convention to show a new paragraph. Another way to show that is to have a space between, right? That does also indicate a paragraph. But there's another convention which says if you have a space between paragraphs, you don't also have an indent. So it's normally one or the other. So in this case, for the sake of saving space, we're using indents. Indents are space saving mechanisms or devices because it doesn't require an additional line of empty space to indicate a new paragraph. So now, what if I had another bit here? What if this is actually another section title and I want to make this the blue with the rule? Well, I just select it and click on section title, and then I've got it beautifully set. However, I've got a problem here because the body copy is now sticking up against it. So all I need to really do is hit the space bar and add some vertical space, which is not a problem. So I think you get the idea that you could come along here, you could type in the name of a section header. Let's say this might be what? Research and research and sketching perhaps, and then select and hit section title. And again, if you want to balance it up, get the spacing about right, just add another space above it. Click up here on my move tool and you can see that we're building quite a nice little chunk of information. So that could be one way to build your content. Let's talk about line lengths now. There's a bit of a convention which is contested, but there is and should be an attempt to always have a readable line length. And a readable line length is what's contested. What is the ideal line length? The contention is it's somewhere between 7 and 14 words in one line. So what that means is that you should aim to have the line length about, say, 10 or 12 words. You could say 3, 6, 9, 10. So I wouldn't want to be, say, any shorter than that and any wider perhaps than that for my ideal line lengths. So let's see how that fits with the grid. Turn the grid on. So the ideal line lengths in my grid, the maximum would be 4 columns and the minimum would be 2. 2's even a little bit tight, I reckon. You could do it, but probably the ideal line length would be 3 or 4. So this grid is set up not to have text in every single column or to have a column width. Certainly for the body text, that would be too small, right? It looks messy. It's got a really poor spaces between the words and letters. And that's partly caused by the alignment style in the body text, which is what we call justified. So if we double click on here and we go into paragraph indents and spacing, it's called left justify. And that provides us with a lovely even right hand edge. Let's copy that over here and I'll do something else. I'll just select all of that and I'll change it to left aligned. You can see the difference. So this is justified left and this is left aligned, or aligned left, ragged right, depending on your upbringing. And you can choose whichever one you wish, really, but this is the preset for this document. So we'd like you to stick with it for the moment. But the limitation of justified is that if you really have to be careful with your line lengths, because if you try to squeeze it up too much, you end up with some pretty poor hyphenated words and really bad line and really bad word spaces. So in this instance, 2 is almost a bit tight, I reckon. But if this was a caption, so let's copy this over, put my cursor inside, I'll select it all, and I'll make this a caption. And as you can see there now, 2 columns width for captions is quite fine. And notice here, this is the caption paragraph alignment is left aligned, it's not justified. So what we would be ideally looking at, go back to W, enlarge this text frame. I'm sorry, let me zoom out there. Enlarge the text frame to 3 columns. And I'll just get rid of some of this additional caption. Let's just pretend it's about there. And in this case, I'm going to imagine I don't need another section header there because I've got maybe a photograph there, or maybe I've got something like this. I might align that with the top of my text here. Bring in a photograph perhaps here. Might be a square. Might just put it to there, and I'll fill that photograph with an image. And let me just bring that up. Something like that. Okay, so now W, you can see that I'm starting to build a little composition here. And then I'll have to make some choices. Where do I hang the photo? Do I hang it up here in line with the rule, or do I hang it here in line with the text? So W, bring this down. These are things you have to decide on. But you can probably see that the caption size is kind of fitting nicely with the body text size. Okay, so that's roughly how you would proceed. Place an image, align it to your grid, W for the grid, V for the move tool. Let's pop an image about there, bring it down to here, fill it with one of your images, fill it to the frame size that you wish, and I think in this case I'll go down. Just for the argument's sake, this might be another section header here. I might have another little caption popped over here. So you can see that pretty quickly I would come up with a reasonable design in not too much time. And I think the trick is, when you're doing this, is to try to keep things orderly. So for example, if I had a couple of smaller inspirational images, get the frame tool out, turn on the grid. I might want to put here, say, a series of different horizontal format images. Now what I can actually do is, while I've got the frame tool still active, so I've still got the mouse held down, and I just hit the down arrow key, or the up arrow key, I'm sorry, not the down, the up. You can see there's 3 sort of horizontal format frames appeared now. And if I release now, and I'll just color them, I'll put a 0.25 point frame around them. And you can now see that there I've got 3 little image frames ready to go. They're exactly the same size, they're lined up perfectly, and I can even, raise them or lower them. I could copy and paste this caption text here and fill it with the information that I was wanting to use. Line that up nicely, get it closer to the top one, and then I could fill these images with something. So let's select both of those, all 3 of those, and we whack them in. And you aim to make sure everything is as neat and orderly as possible. Neatness and orderliness is the name of the game, really, with design. We want things to be orderly because it enables us to enjoy looking at them, and it provides a sense of intention and precision about a document. So that's why we use grids, and that's how you use paragraph styles in this document. Word and meaning process. So it's shown up in the section header style. I can come down here and do it in the heading style, which is what was used on the front cover, but I think you'll agree that's perhaps a little bit heavy-handed. So, and I could even match the blue color that was used in the other headings, right? So you can see without too much effort, you're starting to get quite a nice little organized layout. I could even turn these image frames off because they're unnecessary, and they're only adding a black line where it's not really needed. Could add more captions there, of course. All right, so hopefully that kind of gives you a sense of what to do, how to approach this, how to use paragraph styles, how to use the grid, and how to plan a little bit for your design process document. So I wish you all the best for your projects this semester, and keep in touch with your ELA. Reach out and ask questions if you don't know what to do, and I'm sure they will help you.